everyone, and welcome to the Podcast by Army podcast, where we talk about BTS, Army, fandom, and research. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Ringland and
Jhertau Her, a university student.
and today we're going to be talking about
Jungkook, our golden maknae, our little bunny, our baby star candy, our funky little pop star, all the other nicknames. He is our pride and joy, our wonderful Jungkook. But yeah, today we're gonna talk about Jungkook, and it's super exciting. Happy birthday, Jungkook! Currently, this episode was released on September 1st, and his birthday is September 1st. So we're super excited to be here with you all and celebrate his second, no, not his second birthday. He's not two.
we were very serious before we started recording this.
Yes, we were. But here we are to celebrate his birthday. So thank you all for joining us today. And we're going to start first off with some of our favorite songs and music from Jungkook. So this is Jhertau, once again. My favorite song from Jungkook. This might be a little controversial. It's My Time, actually.
Ooh.
I know for some people, it's usually a lot of people, they answer Euphoria, because Euphoria is just iconic. You know, Euphoria is Euphoria. It's like, Euphoria is basically like its own entity on itself when it comes to like BTS's music, because there's so many people even outside of like Army who know what Euphoria is and know the song, because it was literally used in the Euphoria, that one TV show as well.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Cool.
Sorry, I'm a youngin, and you know the
and
people...
I am clearly not. I know nothing about pop culture, so here we are.
Hey, but you learn so much by osmosis, Kate. You know, good enough. Good enough.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, my favorite song is My Time. I love it because I love the one part of the song. I don't know song structure, by the way. So I'll just be like that one part. And then Kate, if you want to be like, oh, that's the chorus or whatever, would be real. But I like the one part where he's gonna like it's like he's just humming the whole time, like the one part where he's humming in it. You understand what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
it's like that part is like so magical to me. Like when I'm listening to that, it's literally like I'm floating. And because there's something about it that is so airy in the way he just pronounces and like breathes, I guess, and hums. So I love that part. And if I could loop My Time, I would, but I don't. What I do when I want to listen to My Time, because it's my favorite Jungkook song, I like cue it, and then I cue a bunch of it, and then I put like a bunch of other BTS songs that have the same kind of vibe, so that way I don't like lose the momentum, but I don't loop it. But it's so good. I love My Time. That's the vibe. That's my favorite Jungkook song. So what about you, Kate? What's your favorite Jungkook song?
Yeah, mine is Still With You. I love me a rainy day song.
Ah.
And I don't know, there's just something about it that I have a hard time. I like it because of its simplicity. It's actually one of the songs that I actively like spent time learning the actual Korean pronunciation of and trying to learn the lyrics. Like it's one of the few songs where I've actually sat down and like actively tried to memorize the whole thing so I could sing along. And it's interesting you talking about part of my time doing fun, funky things with your brainwaves, because I also Still With You is one of the songs I'm about to say something that's gonna be extremely controversial, so here we go. But I have songs that I stim to, which means I get it in my head and I like to listen to it over and over and over again. And I do that a lot when I'm writing.
Yeah.
And so I actually do loop the song. But this is a very specific neurodivergent need of mine. So we're calling this technology, and
you're so
people
real.
Don't get their panties in a twist out there about me looping music. But Still With You is one of those songs. I don't have that many that I do this to, and that's one of them. So yeah, I will sit there and loop it. I also have I cannot express how ecstatic I was when they got put on Spotify. because of course I was doing this all via SoundCloud before. But
Hmm.
now that it's on Spotify, I've added it to all my writing playlists. So all the playlists I also play while I'm trying to get writing done, um, that I've now populated. So like I spent like, I don't know, a whole once you went on Spotify, I spent a whole afternoon just putting it on all my playlists. So anyway, that's my jam right there.
No, I feel that. Yeah, and also everyone who's listening, don't bother neurodivergent armies. Just let them do whatever they want.
Put it for
That's
our thing, please. We also
yeah.
we also have diverse playlists, and we do streaming properly during comebacks. Just there are times we need to loop for stimming
Yeah.
reasons.
No, but I think there's a larger conversation there as well about
Yeah,
like just, people listen to BTS music and not I don't use the word consume. Just say listen. When people listen to BTS's
mm-hmm.
music and take what they need from it type of vibe.
Yeah,
And we really shouldn't judge people who I know there might be some people who are judgmental about like, oh, you should never loop, like ever. But it's okay. There's different instances where you can loop. I'm someone who's neurotypical, so I do the whole queuing and everything because I don't stim at all. But for Kate, it's a whole different experience.
yeah,
So there's things like, again, this goes back to our point in the future episode that we'll make about how diverse our fandom is and how and we made a point in the first episode as well about our fandom is very
yeah,
diverse and there's a lot of different people and people are allowed to kind of exist in the fandom and do what they need to and do what they want to, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah. And it's
Facts.
interesting because I'll say that I feel more comfortable having this conversation here like this. I never would say this on the timeline, like online, ever. So there you have it.
No, that's so real though. But like
There's
there's
not
also
enough
like
nuance.
no. But also like on Army Twitter, it's like there's like two things happening. It's like we have to push certain things
Yeah,
because if we don't, then like there'll be room for people to be like, "Oh, I don't need to stream properly because
right,
I don't think filtering is gonna affect me at all." Blah blah blah.
right,
And
right,
it's like, bro, filtering affects every single Spotify account, like or
right,
like even Apple Music account. Like that's how it works. And you can't just like not properly stream because you want to do whatever you want to do. There's a reason we coordinate and talk to each other.
right,
Whole
right.
thing. But yeah, essentially leave neurodivergent people alone. And also Twitter is complex and not that
Yes.
nice sometimes.
Yeah, it has its moments. It has its moments. But
It
anyways,
has
so
its
Still With
moments.
You is my favorite was my favorite song of his for sure.
It's so pretty. It's like I don't know if I have synesthesia. Is that what it's called? Or whatever.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. But like when I listen to some songs, it's like a crazy experience. And like Still With You is like one of those songs. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
that's what I'm I don't know what your experience is, but like for me it like truly like hits like I don't know, it feels like my brain is moving like if you could imagine it like brain like actual waves, like calculus or whatever. Like
Oh.
like my brain is like moving on a certain pattern, and there are certain songs, and Still With You is one of them, that like maps to the pattern of my brain. So it like truly
Oh.
feels it's like a little bit like you were talking about. It's like that kind of like I've said this on Twitter a couple times where I'm like, man, this song, I could like live inside this song.
Mm.
Because of the certain sounds or the certain those like truly my brain is just very, very happy there. And Still With You just like hits the perfect notes for me.
That's so interesting. Because it's like it's almost like it's like just it's literally on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, it's like a very intense experience. That's why this is okay. This is controversial, but there's a lot of BTS songs I straight up can't listen to or like stream because it's such an intense experience. Like
Wow.
Wildflower, I can't stream by
Huh.
RM because it's so intense. I can't stream Stay Alive because it's like so emotionally intense when I listen to
Oh,
them.
Stay Alive. Now that's fascinating because that would be another one that's very close to Still With You for me.
Ah,
That
that makes
I love that
sense.
song so much. That's another one
Yeah.
that I write to because
Oh, we
yeah,
have like, wow, I've never talked so deeply with someone else about like their how they feel when they
the
listen to
actual
a
physical
song.
experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my physical experience, like I can't listen to We Are Bulletproof, The Eternal, because I'll like
Oh,
immediately start crying. It's very,
oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, that one, yeah, there are definitely songs that I get really emotional to, but I don't know. I have a whole soft playlist that I play whenever I'm want to feel soft.
Mm,
And I have other playlists like yeah, where I'm like, I don't know, I actually use them to cry, and that's one of the songs that I put on there.
mm. No, that's real. The crying playlist, iconic,
Yeah,
iconic. I
yeah.
feel like every army has a crying playlist. Is that just me?
Probably.
It's good though. It's good. After that
Yeah.
playlist, it's like, wow. Dear My Friend is on it. Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's BTS music, our experiences. I guess we'll transition about more things about Jungkook that we love. What's some of your favorite things about Jungkook, Kate? Sorry, that's very on the spot. Immediately. Favorite things?
Go first. You
Now.
go first. You go first. You go
Okay,
first,
I'll go
please.
first. Okay. So my favorite thing about Jungkook is his gender. My favorite thing about Jungkook is his gender. This we're recording this a little bit after the Calvin Klein photo shoots came out.
Yeah.
The newer one, not the first round, the second round.
Yeah.
With for the like androgynous, non like genderless collection at Calvin Klein. He ate that. Actually, it's insane. He is like this is people keep saying this, but it's so true. He's like if a man and a woman had a baby
Yeah.
and then made Jungkook. Because he's so feminine yet so masculine, but like so androgynous yet so gendered. And it's fascinating. I really wish I could talk to like someone who studies like gender studies or something, because I think this would be fascinating to them. But Jungkook is, he expresses gender so freely, and I love that. I love that about him. I want to be able to do that. It's like the armies who are like, I don't know if I want him or I want to be him. That's
Yeah.
me constantly. That's me
Yeah.
constantly. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Jungkook. I think he's a great kind of representation of how modern gender is expressed. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
It
Yeah.
is. So cool. And thank you to Calvin Klein for the amazing, amazing photo shoots that you have blessed us
Oh, it's so
with.
good.
So good. Uh, all right, now it's me. Okay.
You got this, Kate.
Okay, I will say one of my favorite things is the way that he has okay, it's a couple of things kind of conflated together, but the way that he a has been managing his social media, I really appreciate like the healthy figuring out what he wants and where he wants to be. It doesn't matter like what anyone else wants kind of vibes. I really, really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
With him doing his lives and kind of sticking to Weverse and, you know, getting off Instagram and all that kind of like, I just like kind of really appreciate that. And then along with that, I have really appreciated the way that he has allowed himself to be a little bit more free in terms of how he's expressing himself and how he wants his relationship with Army to be and how he wants to be as a person who is in the public eye. For a young person, I think it's really impressive what the way he kind of goes about his presence, his public presence.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I think that, and then to kind of like loop that back to some of the stuff we talked about with neurodivergence, he's, I think, really opened the door for neurodivergent Army to feel more seen. And whether or not he actually identifies as neurodivergent himself, I'm not going to like speculate on that publicly on air. But I will say that like he has allowed for there to be space to have conversations about neurodivergence in a way that's really nice and really not ableist, which is really great. So those are my things. They're kind of all conflated together, but there they are.
No, that's so wonderful though. It's like for both of us, Jungkook in a way is helping us express different parts of ourselves. And I think
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
And I think it's just like fascinating to me because, he's literally from a different generation from me. And we technically have almost nothing in common except for perhaps our love for BTS. And yet, here he is, and I'm like seeing things that I'm like, oh yeah, that's very real. And I'm really glad that he's putting that out there for other people to see because being
Yeah.
seen, especially for groups like, neurodivergent folks, for example, it's really nice to have positive examples out there instead of all the negative media that happens on the internet and out in the public. So
Yeah. That's really nice that you're able to like point and be like, that's cool. That's nice.
yeah,
We have more favorite things about Jungkook. I think I just thought of one.
go ahead, go for it.
Okay. I love how emotionally mature he is. He is just
Yes.
so in tune with knowing. It goes back to like what you're talking about, of like how he knows himself and presents himself
Yeah.
on social media. He knows himself so well. And that
Yeah.
inspires me to strive towards knowing myself better too. I think like ever since I started liking BTS more, I've actually been more private on social media,
Hmm.
especially with like sharing pictures of myself or sharing about where I am. Like on my personal Instagram, no one knows this except like my couple of friends who see my personal Instagram, but I only post pictures of like nature. I don't ever post pictures of myself because
Yeah.
that's my way of kind of keeping my life private and keeping my existence to myself and making it meaningful to myself. So, in a way, Jungkook really inspires that in wanting to like have more control over my life and understanding kind of where I am in the world. And it's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think for a guy who's in his mid 20s, I think that it's really impressive the amount of self-reflection he's done and the amount of thought he puts into things that like on the surface, and I know I've had friends who are not army who have commented on this when I've been talking about his lives and stuff, like not they don't understand why he would do certain things, like why he would fall asleep on a live, for example. And it's like he's made these choices and he has a very clear idea of what and how he's going to be in these spaces and how he's going to have this relationship with us, and it's very real and it's very thought through. There's nothing accidental going on here, and I think that
Yeah.
is something really important to kind of remember and think about. I don't know, and I agree, and not just him but like all of BTS have really made me change how I present myself publicly in a lot of ways, because I have a very public persona as a professor and I have a very public online presence, but I'm very
Persona.
careful. Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm,
that
and
came
I
out.
like it's something I've always thought about. It's something I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I'm the generation that grew up with the internet. So as the internet was kind of coming into fruition and maturing, so was I. And so I have like a very unique life experience with the internet in general, but I've always had this kind of very self-reflexive thought process around who I want to be and how I'm going to present myself online. It's just something I've always thought about. But anyway, BTS has really made me stop and think about like the pieces I'm willing to share and what I'm not willing to share, and the amount of vulnerability I express on places like my army account on Twitter are actually much more vulnerable and open than I might be in other places. But there's also lots of private things I don't share either. Like there's lots of things about my personal life that I might give snippets or glimpses into, but people don't really know who I am on a personal level, if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah, it's interesting and kind of cool to, you know, be learning from people who have this very public stance on the internet.
Yeah. In a way, Jungkook is both of our role models.
Yeah,
He's our role model.
weirdly enough, yes.
No, but I love that though. We're like
Yeah.
I've I've talked about this with some mutuals before, but like all the BTS members are such good role models. And knowing like
Mm-hmm.
how what they do impacts people. I think Jungkook especially too, because he's one of the members like he used to not come on live and come on social media a lot, and then he started to. And that very much is like kind of a healthy progression for him and change
Yeah.
that he fully understands. And then it's great. I love like getting to witness Jungkook
Mhm.
change because we're both like 2020 armies, and Jungkook used to never go live by himself, and now it's like
Yeah.
all the time. It's like we're basically FaceTiming our bestie every once in a while.
Feels like I love it. I love it.
I do love
But
it. Us in the lab putting the live on the
yeah, it's lab meeting time. JK's live, so we're gonna put him on the TV so everybody
Yeah,
can watch. Yes.
he's more important. Sorry, everyone. Oh my god, that one meeting we had that we also that we all the live was also happening. I couldn't keep a straight face. I just turned my camera off. I'm sorry. Whoa,
That, that was that was rough. That was the one of the ones where he was like in bed,
yeah, he
right?
didn't have a shirt on,
And he
and
was
then
basically, yeah, naked from the waist up. And I was trying to run a lab meeting and I
we
could,
couldn't
yeah,
keep it.
keeping a straight
Yeah,
face was
I know both of us just giggling, and I could see you giggling, and I was like, I can't control myself. So
yeah, that was great. That was
yeah,
that was an experience.
it was an experience. He's just so amazing. There's I don't think there's any one word that could describe Jungkook. He is
Well, that's
just
why he has so many nicknames.
yeah, he is just everything. He is so wonderful, and oh my god. And then he's aging, in my head, I'm just like Jungkook isn't that much older anymore. And now he's getting older, and I'm just like I feel like whenever you met the BTS members, sometimes like the image you have of them when you first met them is like stuck in your head. And
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
it's like, what do you mean they're aging?
Oh, dare they? That
Well,
also means
it's
I'm
okay. It's
no
okay
one
if they age. But it's also like I think it's like just like the concept of like change, and as you grow with BTS, because you don't just like you're not just a fan of BTS, you like grow with BTS, let's be real. And like especially seeing Jungkook grow, because people always view him as like the baby of the group. And like in my head, I feel like well, we're both the same generation technically, because Jungkook's only how many years older than me? Oh no, he's way older than me. Okay. Oh my god, this is so iconic. Okay, but Jungkook, he's 7 years older than me. But technically, we're both still Gen Z because
Yes.
the way Jungkook acts and dresses, I'm like, we're literally the same. We're literally, I get where he's coming from. And he, it's like interesting to exist and grow with him because in my head, we're still the same age. I'm stuck at 16, honestly, ever since the pandemic and lockdown.
Well, I'm
I've
so glad I'm not 16 anymore.
Yeah. Oh my God, I hated being 16. That was the worst. It was
Me
like
too. I actually hated it.
it's like okay, it's so interesting because when I turned 16 in the beginning of February, and then we went into lockdown around early March, end of February.
Oh
And
wow. Oh
I
wow.
didn't even have a
Yeah, I
birthday
hated being
party.
16 for completely different reasons.
Yeah. I didn't oh no, you're so real for that. But I didn't have like a sweet 16 or anything. Like my family wanted to plan one, but then I don't know, for some reason I didn't. And I think I kind of knew internally or something. I don't know. I'm the type of person I see signs or whatever. But essentially I didn't have the 16th birthday party, and then lockdown happened, and then I got obsessed with BTS. And it's just interesting because like I in my mind I still see like Jungkook as like this young guy, but he's a young guy, but also like he's like the older role model to a lot of people, and like me as well. It's so interesting. Sorry, I keep rambling. But yeah,
Oh, it's
what
all
about
good.
your thoughts on it, Kate? Like, how do you feel having Jungkook as your role model?
I mean, it's a completely different experience because I am very much older than him. But I do think, like, I don't know. For me, it was interesting because when I first started getting into BTS, he was still young enough, speaking of age, he was still young enough to be almost an undergrad of mine. So I had a very different
Wow.
relationship with him, like from a fan point of view. I thought of him very, very differently in 2020 than I do now.
He's a
Yeah.
baby.
So yeah,
Just kidding. He's
truly.
not. But like in your head
I
you
like
thought that.
well, I mean, in my head, I was like, it was kind of one of those, he felt a little bit off limits in some ways because he still felt very young.
Oh, that's so
Anyway, that
interesting.
is obviously, yeah, it's obviously shifted and changed since then. But I don't know. I'm also like the sort of person that finds like, I think that we have things to learn from each other regardless of our age, and that
Yeah.
um
Well,
and
that's why
so
we have
for
this
me having
podcast.
him, yeah, well, like for me having him as a role model is more of like I don't know, it feels like it feel it's just like, yeah, he's a person that has had valuable experiences, and I like, as I've said, like a lot of the ways he has clearly put the time and energy into doing self-reflection, and I'm ecstatic that he's in a place where he's sharing that with the rest of us so that we can also learn from his experiences and reflections. So that's how I feel about it, I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot of learning that happens through loving like BTS. And I think with Jungkook in specific, even though he's like he's the youngest member, there is so much to learn. He has a lot of wisdom, even as a younger
Yeah.
person.
Well, he's been around and seen some things
He
in his
has.
life.
He's seen a lot. Like the
Yeah.
sucky Weverse comments on live.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yes.
talk about that, we can transition into talking about how Weverse.
Transition into Weverse. Oh God.
Yeah,
Weverse.
it
I
sucks.
mean, yeah, it as a platform needs some work. It needs some work. I don't know. I have more broader meta thoughts about Weverse, and then I don't know if we want to talk about
Mm,
specifically talk about the live stuff first. I think it's interesting that some of the lives are having more. We've gotten some like live translations and stuff going on, which is cool.
yeah.
And I feel like I feel like reporting comments has gotten a little easier, but I do wish they would do more to combat the
Yeah.
really crappy comments that come up on while people are live. Is the
I've talked
short
about
version.
no, you're so real. I've like talked about this before, but I really want them to have a filtering system that the idols are in control of.
Yeah,
So think like Jungkook could like ban certain words or ban like certain phrases and just it just never shows up.
yeah,
Like maybe like on the person's end it goes through, but then it doesn't actually show up on the live. So you
yeah. He
don't ever
can't actually.
know which words are actually filtered, but
Yeah,
they are filtered. Like that would be amazing, I think.
yeah. And that feels like a very simple thing to implement. I think that also. I think that I think this is one of those instances. I have a lot of really mixed feelings about implementing AI across different systems and stuff, which is, I'm sure we could have a whole episode about how I feel about AI, but
We could.
um but I think in this instance, it's one of those things where I do actually think it might be useful to have, like, especially if people are reporting specific things over and over again, it feels like a machine could actually learn from that and just start filtering out things that are getting reported before that people even see them, and especially before the
Yeah.
artists see them.
Because there's like
Like
some
that
things that
feels
are
also fairly
oh
simple.
sorry.
Yeah, no,
Keep
no, go
cutting.
ahead.
Because no, just to like add on what you're talking about as well. I feel like there are like certain phrases that are just like point blank you mute, but then there's like morphed ways that those phrases can change and like
Yeah,
that. And especially with like all the different languages happening in the chat as well.
yeah,
It would be interesting to see how if you used AI, how that would like develop further and make a more comprehensive list of what can actually be muted and banned on the live stream.
yeah. Yeah, I think that would be really nice, because I think that, it's one of those things when I'm watching a live, I just turn the comments off. I don't even look at them because it's such a mess. And I will occasionally pop into them to report stuff because there's always work to do. But I mostly just watch without them on, and then like because I can't it's like one of those things, like when I sit there, I can't even imagine trying to be on live and streaming while having all that essentially spam come at you. And I don't know. I feel like it could be a much more pleasant experience than it is.
Yeah, I feel that too. Especially like we have very contrasting viewing experiences because I spend the whole time when I'm watching a live just reporting comments because I
Yeah, see,
know.
like when the member is live, I'm actually listening to what they're saying and trying
Mm,
to like enjoy. Like I'm the sort of person that sits there and watches like somebody is just on my screen streaming at me. I'll just sit there and watch, and I will occasionally if I'm not, my Korean is not great, obviously, but like if I'm not following what they're talking about, I will pull up translators, obviously. But other than that, I'm mostly focused on just watching their stream and then figuring I'll catch all the rest of the important stuff later when I rewatch with subtitles or whatever. But yeah, no, I sit there and actually give it my full attention.
that's so
And
interesting because
yeah, because I feel like
yeah,
it's almost like, yeah, he's called me and I want to pay attention to what he's saying, and I don't care about all the other people on the call. They can go,
yeah,
be
that's
muted in
so
the corner.
real. Yeah. Like for
Yeah.
me, how kind of I feel about it is that like I want to try to make him have a better experience as he's watching it. So that way, like when he looks at comments, like if I'm able to report however many comments, so that way he won't see those things and it won't like bother him in that aspect,
Yeah.
then it's a fan labor thing. I'm just always doing work wherever I go.
Yeah. See, that's a problem.
Yeah,
First of
there's
all.
my workaholicism.
Yeah.
It's just oh my God. I need to like talk to a counselor or a therapist and like learn how to relax.
Relax.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Oh my God. Okay. But yes. I should adopt what you're doing more, Kate. Just watch. Just watch.
Yeah. I mean, to be like, partly it's like my ethnographer training where like, want to be in the moment and just absorb what's going on rather than necessarily fully participating and changing what's going on, although that has changed for me a lot in the fandom over time. But I don't know, for me, like I feel like I think my attitude has changed a lot over the years in terms of like I really have actually been to therapy, and so a lot of it is like I really do want to be in the moment and have those memories in those moments, and I can't do that if I'm like freaking out about other people asking for them to speak in English over and over again. So,
Yeah.
and I do
That
think like Weverse as a platform really should step it up. Like they have the tools are out there, they just need to actually implement them so that we don't have to do that labor. Like that should not be on us to be policing literally everyone else. Like that's, if the platform can solve that problem, the platform should be solving that problem. And it could be doing that through technological means in this case. So
yeah. Honestly, do you think that making Weverse better is a priority for Hype?
I don't know. I don't. So that is like a really interesting question. I mean, they clearly have an investment in it, and they're clearly trying to make money from it because they have all this monetization stuff going on with their jellies and whatever.
Oh, I hate the
They,
jellies now. I hate them so much.
yeah, I choose not to comment on the jellies because I too think they are ridiculous, and just I feel the jellies make me feel used. So anyway,
Yes.
um, but yeah, so there's clearly like they're interested in monetization and they're interested in having people active on the platform, but the way the platform gets marketed and the way there are some assumptions in the like user interface and stuff about how the platform should get used, but it's not actually designed to be used in that way. So there's a mismatch across the users, the interface, and the actual intention of the platform. Because
Yeah.
if the platform was intended to just be a place where you talk at the artists and then the artists sometimes will come and talk at you, or there could maybe be some interaction between you and the artist, like the platform should be built that way. But right now it's built like a social media feed where you just blast out into the internet all your thoughts, and you can interact with other people on there, and like you can reply and like other people's posts, and you can like so there's some socially things going on with the fandom pieces of it, but it's not actually built to be safe in that way. It's not built.
Oh
There's
no,
it's
not at
not
all.
it's not it's like not easy to actually have mutuals or be friends with people or follow people even. It's not easy to find specific people or posts. It's not the flagging and reporting system on the like posting pieces is atrocious. There's like it's like oh 0 or a 10. There's no safety features. You can't like there's just no safety features in place. And which is kind of scary when you think of the fact that there's a bunch of minors on there. And then there there are and then it's all of that is then tied in with your account where you get all your media content. So like I'm scared to post on Weverse because I don't want my account to get flagged and taken down because then I can't access everything I have spent all my money on. So all the videos and all the like content and stuff that they make available for live streaming and all this stuff, I don't want to like lose that, right? So I don't know. There's just like a lot of layers to the whole Weverse platform and I don't understand the direction they're trying to go with it because if they wanted to just be fan to artist, then they should focus on that and they should disable the other stuff and get rid of it and not allow fans to interact with each other because there's no infrastructure to keep people safe while they're doing that right now.
Yes, I agree with that. Honestly, it's actually interesting to see because I know in 2020 when I first became an army and like started joining on Twitter that people would use Weverse to organize and like trend things on the Weverse
Yeah,
trending. And
yeah,
I think like the whole like interacting with each other thing, it was the intention was to allow armies to interact with each other and like organize those things and like get BTS to see something, right? But then
right.
since there is no safety precautions like anywhere, the WhatsApp group chats, insane.
Yeah,
Actually insane.
yeah, yeah.
I was stupid when I first joined the fandom. I actually joined one of those group chats. Um, but it was like actually armies who were there. I think sometime in the past year or two. Like it's now changed into be you have it's like only girls be
Oh,
like yeah,
interesting.
these ages come join our WhatsApp group and it's like super shady looking. But the one I
Yeah,
joined
yeah.
in 2020 was like an actual group of armies and then they would send updates on the WhatsApp group chat. It
Uh-huh.
was a very interesting experience. My early army days was filled with me just trying everything. Insane. But it's interesting to see how the WhatsApp group chats, because I think the like when I first started like was an arm when I first became an army, the WhatsApp group chats wasn't a problem because it was
Right,
clearly armies looking for other armies to talk to because Weverse as a platform did not was not able to supply that.
right,
But kind of in that happening in the past 1 or 2 years, now the WhatsApp group chats have morphed into something completely different. And it goes back to like what you were talking about as well. Like there is no safety precautions and it kind of baffles me why Weverse just doesn't automatically delete those posts, just like in their moderation as a system already. Because
right,
you would
right.
think they would see those and know that's like scammy and that makes them look bad as a company. But it's just they're still there. You can go on Weverse right now, you probably would find one within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what do you think about that? Like, especially the safety part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like to me, it's like super concerning, like on multiple levels. Like, because I, I also remember there was a whole incident, like kind of, it was early on it was probably 2021 when somebody had posted a not safe for work picture, um,
Oh,
on Weverse,
I remember that. Yeah.
and it blew up on Twitter because everybody was like, take that down. There are minors on that platform. Like, what are you
Yeah.
even like, what are you doing? And it turned into a whole thing. And that was the first time I was like, how are they allowed to do that? And why is that still like it took forever for it to come down?
Yeah.
And I like shudder to think how many people were like just because the thing with Weavers is there's no algorithm to the timeline. Like if you're just on the
No.
timeline, then it's just like this straight up like just constant people throwing their notes out into the universe kind of thing. And And so that could just pop up and you have no control over it. You can't block things, you can't mute words. Like, it's just like this, it's just a mess. And I don't know. Anyway, and I actually was, when I was doing work for the Army census team, I posted stuff and I actually was trending for like a day. There was a day there in my life when I was trending on Weverse, and I was so anxious the whole time. I was just like waiting for something bad to happen, basically, because it was just like I felt so exposed and so unsafe, but like we wanted it to be trending so that there was a chance that BTS could see, or whatever it was. So it was just like, I hated it. I like every minute that I was like saw myself in the trending bar, I was like, please let this end.
No, I feel it. I hate just like the feeling of being perceived in the fandom is insane.
It's a
Why
lot.
are we doing this podcast?
I know. Well, it's like it's funny because like I don't mind doing certain things on my terms, and I don't mind, like, I've gone viral on Twitter so many times, and that's fine.
Okay,
Like,
influencer Kate. Okay.
yeah, right. But I mean, like, I don't like, if I can stand behind my words and I know what I'm saying, then that's fine. But there's just something, I don't know. I get that, like, for some people there's like I don't know, they probably like the adrenaline high that you get from that perception. I do not like it. I would rather not be
It's
subjected
scary.
to the chemicals. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm mostly just terrified every time I see the numbers go up on things, but especially on Weverse, where I feel like there's no recourse. So like if something bad happens, I don't know like what happens to my account after that kind of a thing. So
No.
I do love using Weverse though, for like I do post things, but I'll do the hashtag to the artists.
Yeah.
Like to
Doing
BTS or
letters and
to,
like that.
yeah. So I like write them things sometimes. To me it's more like I treat Weverse like I am putting my message in a bottle and I'm just sending it out to sea. And if the members happen to see it, then that's fine. But it's more just like me putting that out into the universe, and that's how I use Weverse. I don't use it to interact with people because it's obviously not useful for that.
Cheer my post. Cheer my post, Kate. Cheer my post. Kate, can you cheer my post? That's literally all Weverse says.
Yeah.
Ami, please cheer my post. I'm like, you can't Ami me. Don't Ami me. And then ask me to cheer your post. Oh my god. That's why I don't post on Weverse anymore. There was one point I was so mad. I like said something really mean to the person and I deleted the message right after. Because
well, see, that's the thing, because you get reported and then like it doesn't take much for you to take it down.
It doesn't. But it's just it's an experience. That I wish upon no one, honestly.
Yeah, for real.
We don't like Weverse. And also, I'm looking at our topic list. To go back to our topic list as well, like, and to kind of transition into the other topics we want to talk about as well, is that Weverse itself, it's like a breeding ground of just weird narratives and weird things happening. Because like it's not regulated, as you're talking about, but also to kind of add on to that, there's like no way for you to have discourse or actually talk with other fans, because everything's it's just a bubble kind of, or a void. You were talking about a void earlier, where like you say something and it's gone. And
right,
I think
it's just like out there, and there's not like a way to have like a back and forth in any meaningful way.
Yeah. And I think, just to kind of add on to this whole conversation, that because of that, that's how we see a lot of solo stands happening. And that's how we see a lot of people kind of slipping through the cracks. Because this happens a lot, but a lot of armies always say, like, go to Twitter immediately. Like, Twitter is the one place to go to if you want to be like in it army type of vibe. And honestly, I kind of believe that, because there is no other platform where you can have such extensive discourse. Yeah. There are places like Tumblr and like that, but I just think it just not built for that immediate type of going back and forth. and developing
Yeah.
discourse and behaviors and norms and all that. And
Yeah.
because of that, we're kind of stuck with like the issue of like solo stands. To like bring it back to Jungkook as well, like the issues with solo stands. But there is something really interesting to say with how a lot of solo stands are indoctrinated on places like Weverse, that have no avenue for people to learn more about BTS, which is kind of ironic because Weverse has the most
Yeah.
official content out of
Yeah.
any
Deeply
platform.
ironic. Deeply ironic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then solo stands are able to be created and indoctrinated in the space because there is no regulation or anything. And it really feels bad because I wish Weverse was better. And I wish solo stands didn't exist. But they do.
I truly wish they didn't exist. I wish that that was just not a thing that happened in the world.
It's so interesting how they do exist though. It's like
It is. To me, it's fascinating. Like, as I will say this, as an academic and a researcher and a person who studies people for a living, I find them fascinating. Like, truly,
it's like
the fact
how
that they exist.
how do solo stand Jungkook? He has been in love with BTS
Right.
since day one. Like he
Yeah.
will tell the Namjoon Dae story every single chance he gets. He,
Yeah.
oh my god, I saw this one tweet of someone saying like there was someone who was like saying like trying to say that Jungkook like hated Jimin or something. But then this one person was like Jungkook would burn you to keep Jimin warm. And I was like
Yeah.
that is the most accurate way you could put it. It literally like Jung like there's like each of the members, none of them would care
Yeah.
for a solo stand, but yet they exist. And they think
Yeah.
that the member it's like I've thought about this before. And I've actually done research, quote unquote, on this before, on like trying to understand solo stands and just where they're coming from. But it feels so much like it's so rooted in like irrational thought and just nothing that is tangible or feasible or anything. Like there's no fact, there's nothing you can grasp. It's all just narrative and
Yeah.
disinformation. And it really makes me feel strange because it's kind of scary in a
Yeah.
way.
It's super scary.
Like how does that happen, you know? Like what do you think about it as like an academic as well, like how that happens?
Yeah. There's like, yeah, no, there's like, there's whole groups of people doing research and like whole initiatives on disinformation and like disinformation campaigns. And I don't know, I feel like there's a whole lesson here in solo stands in how those campaigns happen and how they're effective. And because it's really scary because they take extremely innocuous things that nobody else maybe even noticed, and they like take those under a microscope and blow them up and make them seem like the thing that is real that we should be worrying about. And it's wild watching that happen like in real time online. And yeah, I don't know. And I do agree that there's a lot of problematic the ways platforms are built, um like enable a lot of that. So like you've got Weverse where there's like literally no discourse, and then you have places like TikTok where the discourse is very lopsided and there's like a lot of power imbalances and who's allowed to talk and who isn't, because if you're creating videos and creating content, you
Or stealing content.
yeah, well, whatever, you automatically have a much louder platform than just people in the comments or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
like I found that was one of my biggest problems being on TikTok, was like that power imbalance between who has a say and who doesn't. You can't have a back and forth in the same way you can on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Um and so you see these places where people are like kind of putting out their take on things, and people just kind of, YouTube is the same way where you have videos,
Oh,
and the things,
definitely.
if you say the thing and you say it very confidently, you can be 100% wrong, but if you're saying it very confidently with some like splashy video content and quote unquote proof through your video
A fan
content,
cam playing in the background with text to
right,
speak.
like, yeah, exactly,
And
like, oh my god,
yeah.
some ridiculous stuff out there. But like, you can like see how that creates this kind of information imbalance of like, well, clearly this person put all this effort into this, whatever. And then once you kind of buy into a narrative, it's easier to see that narrative over and over again. And so I don't know. I am not a disinformation person. Like that's not necessarily my expertise. But I think it's a fascinating space in terms of like the way certain groups, especially solo stands, move. You can see how the disinformation campaigns like are born and work and are both intentionally and unintentionally crafted and kind of manifested online. So I don't know. I find it really fascinating. It's funny because like for me in my research, there are so many things where I, as a researcher, go, man, I wish I could know more. I wish I could figure out more. Like I'd love to like actually talk to some of these people. But then there's like the realistic part of me that's like, I don't actually want to go down that road. I want to keep my research focused on the joyful aspects of the community and the places where we're doing good, and just like leaving the solo stands and the other toxic communities kind of like off to the sidelines where they belong. But I do like spend a lot of time going, man, it would be fascinating to just like sit down for a couple of hours and actually figure out what is going on with these people, but not to the extent where I actually want to do it. So
Yeah. I think that's super healthy of you because I have unhealthily done a lot of solo stand observation and like actually like sort of entering those spaces on like alt accounts and trying to
yeah,
see what they say. And it's scary how quickly they try
yeah,
to indoctrinate you. It's like you could be
yeah,
like, oh, because there's something that solo stands do. This is fascinating to me and also terrifying. Where if you talk about like some type of solo stand narrative. So I remember very distinctly in 2020, there was a video that was taken by Jin's solo stands and misconstrued to make it look like he was flinching during the Dynamite reaction video. And but
huh.
really he like sneezed or he was like doing like this. He was the
uh,
listeners can't see what I'm doing, but he was like turning his head slightly or something
yeah,
and Jin Solo stands try to say like, oh, he was flinching because he was sad that he didn't have that much screen time in the Dynamite music video. And like
lol.
when I first entered the fandom, because that was like what August, right?
Yeah,
And when that happened, like I like tweeted something out where it was like, oh, people don't appreciate Jin enough or something. It was stupid. I don't believe that anymore. But what happened was that a bunch of Jin solo stands, I think like a good like 10, 15 of them, like quote retweeted and replied to me and was like, yeah, yeah. And then they like liked and retweeted the tweet. So like they
yeah,
actively go out of their way to search for tweets from
that's
armies who might
wild.
be on the edge to like
Yeah,
indoctrinate them and encourage them to keep acting like that and keep pushing those narratives. And it's like it's literally an indoctrination tactic. It's
yeah,
like love bombing in a way
right,
where they give like a lot of attention and like clout and like they'll even DM you and try to talk to
right,
you and be like, "Oh, thank you for speaking up," and like that and try to be your friend and become your mutual. And it's scary because it's like it's so calculated and so cold in a way
right.
where they know they don't have a lot of support from armies, so they try to get the people who are on the edge and pull them down, which is so scary. And which is why now whenever I meet a newer army, I'm always like, you're mine, I'm taking you under my wing,
Right,
you're
right.
staying with me.
Yeah,
Like you know how I did the army questions the army question Saturday? I started doing that.
yeah,
There's so
yeah,
many new armies that were asking questions, and I was like, I'm following you. You're mine now. I'm going to protect
yeah,
you from all these crazy people. Like,
yeah,
we're not letting these people do anything to you. We're not letting them hurt you. Like, go
yeah,
like your Jungkook pictures. Go be happy. So
yeah.
that's what I did, and it it's scary, and I really wish there was ways you could combat it better, but the Twitter's a mess right now anyway, and
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like we're talking about platforms and stuff a little bit, and it's just like Twitter used to be better.
it
It's
did.
gotten worse.
It has.
It used to be better. And it used to be a lot easier to curate your timeline so that you didn't get a lot of that in your space. And it's not like that anymore. So, and that's a whole
Yeah.
nother episode, I am sure. But yeah, I think that that is a big piece of, they must have keywords just like on notification or something. So they just get alerted every time somebody says certain phrases or something. Cause it's true. Cause like, I remember when I was kind of newer on Twitter, I had I had a bunch of Jimin solos that like found me somehow. I
No,
don't know
yeah,
what I
that finds you. They find
they
you.
like found me and
And
like
they try to indoctrinate you.
they all started interacting and like in a positive way. They were like following me and interacted with me. And I didn't really know what a solo was yet. Like I didn't totally understand at the time. So I was just like, okay, these are just army that like Jimin, kind of a thing. And then I realized very quickly they were not, because then I
Mm-hmm.
started seeing weird anti stuff essentially from their accounts. Anyway, so like I figured it out really quick and I did a whole cleaning of my account very quickly. But it was like if I wasn't actively like reflecting on who's on my timeline and stuff all the time, then I would not necessarily have noticed that until possibly I had bought into their narratives and stuff. But like if I had been just like a regular person and not somebody who was actively like thinking very deeply about what was on their timeline.
Yeah. Well, this is not to be mean to people who are like that, but like there's a lot of people who just join the fandom, they're just here to have a good time, and they don't realize what's happening until they're like fully like in it already. And then
Well, yeah, because that's the thing is it's kind of sneaky because it starts out as kind of just like, oh, like, especially there's a lot of accounts that are just like putting out specific content, like, oh, you want updates with pictures and stuff. It's a great way to like get a lot of new pictures and content and things. But like,
mhm,
that's one thing. But then to get like all the like, what it comes with is all the like anti sentiments and all the kind of negative stuff that like then starts to seep in, and that's where it gets really like kind of scary because all of a sudden you're seeing enemies where there weren't enemies before, and I don't know, it's a whole wild thing.
yeah. It's like solo stand, like what happens like with solo stands, like you what happened to you is like the first part of what they do, where they're like
Right.
love bombing you and overwhelming you with like all these different things. Also, love bombing, I'm using it kind of in an appropriate way because it's like an actual like cultist term and there's a whole study and stuff behind it. So I'm gonna refrain from using it from now on, but you can look up more listeners if you're when you're listening to this, you can look up more about it, and it's very interesting to kind of learn about and understand. But like what happened to UK and also to me was like the first stage of what solo stands do because they have
Right.
whole entire group chats where they're coordinating how to
Right.
engage and like do things. So they also have these things. Oh my god, they're called like ratio group chats or something. And when you join, you're like a solo stand whose sole job is to jump on tweets of people like saying that they hate solo stands or whatever. So I think it's called a ratio chat. I forgot, but it's something like that. Yeah. And
That's fascinating.
yeah, it's fascinating. It's terrifying as well.
It's
And
terrifying.
then it's really hard for a lot of people who slide into the solo stand rhetoric to then get out of it because they're stuck in those circles. And those
Right.
same
Right.
ratio group chats will then jump on the people who are trying to come out and like get out of the solo stand circle. And it's
Yeah.
like if you like start being like, guys, I think you're wrong about like this narrative, the solo stand narrative of like, oh, only one member is good and everyone else hates this member. I think you're wrong.
Right.
If like you say that at all, they'll like jump you completely and they'll try to like obliterate you, suspend your account. And like a lot of times armies who are new armies, all their only friends become solo stands. So then
Right.
effectively it's like they're cutting off like all the connections they have in the fandom, even though it's not really the fandom, it's like a solo stand space, but still it's like fandom adjacent.
Right.
It
Right.
it's like completely a way to cut people off and to make them scared of leaving the space and like stopping a solo stand because you're gonna lose like all their friends or whatever. And it I don't know. I keep rambling. I'm sorry, Kate. But I just I just I feel very strongly about this because I've been in fandom for so long and I've witnessed this happen in other fandoms, not just like with solo stands, but with like other narratives. And seeing it happen again and again, it's just terrifying to see how quickly people become indoctrinated and how we as a society just don't think about how that happens on the internet enough and how
I
that
totally
harms
agree.
people.
Yeah. Like as somebody who like I'm just saying I lived through Gamergate and I have seen the like a lot of the same patterns and a lot of the same things that happened back then. And if you don't know what Gamergate is, go Google it. There's like a whole Wikipedia page if you're curious.
You
But
want to give a TLDR for listeners though?
TLDR, it's one of the like the first times we saw like this kind of coordinated online community, and it was coordinating like online harassment and trolling and doxing and swatting. There was a lot of swat. It was a very scary time because they were going after, this was in gaming, obviously, Gamergate. So they were going after folks who worked in games in the game industry who had, as they called it at the time, social justice warrior leanings. So they were going after everyone who was essentially not a straight white man. And
You can
it
say it.
was
You can say it.
I said it. So they were basically going after everyone in like social justice warriors in the game industry. They were going after journalists who were standing up for those folks, and they were going after academics. So a bunch of game scholars and people who worked game adjacent were also targeted because, as is kind of the misconception in, at least in America, there's this kind of misconception that academia is a bastion of liberal leanings, which is not entirely true. But, you know, there was this kind of targeted, like, oh, people doing game studies are going to be leaning towards social justice and things like that. So anyway, so all these folks were getting targeted and they were getting doxxed and harassed online. There was like this whole online campaign in like the darker places on the internet, because they started on 4chan. They ended up moving to 8chan and other places when they kept getting suspended from places. Anyway, so I was a young PhD student at the time when this was all kind of unfolding, studying games. And so studying games for people with disabilities. So I was like in a very truly like, I was the thing. I never got targeted in the initial like campaign, but I knew a lot of people like in my close circle that did. So I see a lot of the patterns and the things that they're doing now in these kind of solo spaces and the other toxic online groups. Like they are just mapping patterns that were made by folks that came before. And it, you know, and there's like a whole bunch of other like political stuff that happened during Gamergate. Like they were backed by politicians and stuff, because this was kind of a test run for seeing if they could get away with this kind of stuff on the internet more broadly. And you can go find out more about that if you want to. But I just to say that like there's precedence for how these people move and how they're coordinated and how they attack people, and kind of like when they swarm accounts and when they do all these different things. Like these are patterns that have been established 10 years ago now. And so they're just, you know, weaponizing these patterns in new spaces, essentially. And it is truly scary, because like when I see, and then it's probably why I talk about having this anxiety when things kind of like when I get perceived, because I've seen what happens when you get doxxed, and I've seen what happens when swatting happens. It's scary, and it's like has real world implications, and it can really truly harm people. Like especially if you start thinking about the people that are getting targeted in these ways are often people of color, they're often marginalized in other ways. And like when you talk about things like swatting and stuff, that means you're calling the police to someone's house, and we know how that ends for a lot of people. So it's like, to me, I don't see a difference between those kinds of groups. Like they're just one step away from like causing real true physical harm to people, not to mention all the emotional trauma that comes with like just getting canceled on the internet anyway. It's just traumatizing. But anyway,
It is traumatizing.
I went to that dark place. I took us there.
It's okay to take us there. Honestly, I think exploring that, and maybe let's not explore that any much further in a Jungkook birthday special.
Right.
But
we'll put a pin in that. But yeah, but I do think that like I think what I would like to say is like it's one thing to be like, oh, solo stands so annoying. wish they wouldn't be in our space, like, okay, yeah, we can just ignore them. But on the other hand, they're actually dangerous. Like, I think is like the
Yes.
point. It's like, there is the harm that they're doing to BTS as a whole. There's the harm they're doing to the person they supposedly are supporting. And then there's the harm that they're doing to just people who are just trying to enjoy themselves on the internet. And yeah, so yeah, it's a whole thing.
No, but there are examples of each of those things where like they
Yeah.
harm BTS, like you know how Hobie, when Jack in the Box came out, he thought people didn't like
Mm-hmm.
it because people were complaining about no physicals and all that. But then he
Oh,
had a whole vision. He had a whole vision. He's releasing a live album for
yeah,
Lollapalooza and
yeah,
everything. And making
yeah,
a live album takes a lot of time. There's mixing, there's
yeah,
different aspects that you have to record. You have to produce a whole new physical album and figure out production logistics. That was planned. He planned a live
yeah,
album,
yeah, yeah.
and people they when Jack in the Box first came out, they thought that he was being like not appreciated or that Hybe had some secret agenda against him,
Yeah.
and it harmed him because he genuinely thought that people didn't like what he was releasing, and it was awful, and it still makes me feel awful that reached him. And also for an example of like solo stands harming other people, I know there was a YouTuber. I'm gonna be as vague as possible here, but they basically released this video talking about BTS and their music, and they did a section for each member. And
Uh-huh.
what happened was that the solo stands of one member in particular doxed them because
Wow.
because of it. And they were like, I'd have no idea why I would be like how I'd be doxed, but like me as someone who like understands how people dox other people, I was like, no, you gave away too much information in past videos for people to figure it out, unfortunately.
Right.
Which is a whole other conversation about internet safety and like what you should talk about online. And it was really sad to see happen because this person they didn't know how to handle it, and it it's one of those things where I really wish that that person didn't have to go through that, because it was like you you tried so hard to not go through that experience, but then you still went through it. And I have like a lot of empathy for those types of things, that sometimes people when they make YouTube videos, especially because a lot of YouTubers, especially like K-pop adjacent, BTS adjacent, they don't understand how solo stands work and how and like they don't
Right.
understand the narratives happening at the moment because they're not on Twitter. They're not
Right.
they're not in the in the mud and the dirt and like trying to figure things out and like knowing, oh,
Yeah.
I can't say this thing because it'll be interpreted this way. They don't know that. And
Right.
but this person, they didn't know that, and then all these horrible things happened to them, and it's really horrible and it's really sad. So those are just two examples of times where solo stands like really harmed a person or just like the BTS member themselves. And
Right.
I guess you could talk about this as well, Kate, because I want to transition this off to you. Like, do you know like examples of like how solo stands like affect the community as well, and how they harm ARMY and how we're perceived?
Well, I mean, like the first thing obviously that like feels obvious is one, as we were already talking about, when people are just new to the fandom. And I feel like this is maybe true of a lot of people when they're joining the ARMY fandom. This is sometimes their first fandom. So like they don't know what they're getting into. Kind of like I didn't know, right? Like so it's really easy to fall out of the fandom again and into these other kind of more toxic spaces because you just don't know and you don't know the lay of the land yet. So there's like a weird kind of gatekeepy issue where we lose a lot of people at the front door before they've even really gotten a chance to come inside. And then obviously the other big thing, and the thing that like bugs me the most, is that when when um when things are happening online and we're like things are trending or some celebrity or comedian or whoever is getting canceled, often there will be all the like drama that goes with it. So like, all the like threats in the DMs and all the threats online and like all this dramatic toxic crap that happens, a lot of that I suspect is not actually ARMY. So like a lot of that ends up coming from these other groups and kind of all like gets mixed up together. And people from the outside, so people like just media people or general public or whoever, people outside ARMY cannot tell the difference between a solo stan and an ARMY. They don't see a difference. They are all people that are related to BTS. So in that, they are then seeing all of this and conflating everything together. So then ARMY gets this, and ARMY is the name that everybody knows. So then ARMY gets this really bad rap because they are, you know, being conflated with all these really toxic groups. And so, yeah, I don't know. To me, that ends up being the most harmful thing, is it looks like ARMY is doing all this toxic garbage, and when in reality it's all these other kind of fringe groups that are kind of ARMY adjacent, if you will.
Just to like add one final thing about the solo stan conversation, and to kind of get at what Kate's saying as well. Solo stans, they bring so many issues with into the fandom that that's why, like, as we're talking about this now, we very clearly like are against solo stans and reject them. And we want to be very clear with that and kind of set that precedent as we're talking about it, especially when it comes to this Jungkook episode as well, because Jungkook solo stans in particular, I don't even want to say and associate his name with them. I hate that we have to associate it, because it's very clear that the different members have different solo stans who act and coordinate differently. But the solo stans specifically for Jungkook, this is why we're talking about it in this episode, are particularly bad. Well, let's say they're all bad, but the ones for Jungkook are particularly bad because they essentially are the largest solo stan group, as Jungkook is one of the most popular members. He's part of the maknae line, but Jungkook has become one of those people that a lot of solo stans flock to, and we want to be very clear that we're against them, and that Jungkook himself is against them. He's talked about being 7 with BTS so much now, especially in chapter 2. Essentially, we just want to make it a point to talk about in this podcast that we don't accept solo stans, and neither does Jungkook, and you shouldn't support them in any type of way. They're terrifying and horrible people in a lot of instances, and a lot of times people get indoctrinated into them, and it's actually the worst thing that I can ever perceive whenever I think about the fandom.
Yeah, agreed.
But overall, go ahead.
I just want to add that, like, BTS have repeatedly now, since forever, but like repeatedly since chapter 2, said, please trust us. So trust BTS and don't listen to some wackadoodle conspiracy theory on the internet, basically, is the TLDR.
Yeah. Watch official content, guys.
So official content.
Yes. So overall, we love Jungkook. He's a slay. He's so cool. Yes. And also,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jungkook. Yay! Every year he ages, I'm like, he just gets more powerful. But yeah, we love Jungkook. I'm glad that we were able to talk about solo stans and Weverse. Weverse,
yeah,
you suck right now.
We had a lot in this episode.
We did. Wow. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And remember to stream BTS. Stream BTS immediately, right now. Go put on a playlist right now. Go do it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.